You wake up in the morning. Before you even have a chance to drink a glass of water, you reach for a small plastic device on your nightstand. You press it against the tip of your finger. A tiny, sharp needle pierces your skin. A drop of blood appears. You squeeze the blood onto a plastic test strip. You wait for 5 agonizing seconds, staring at the digital screen. The number flashes. 180. Your heart sinks. A wave of guilt and terror washes over you. You think about everything you ate yesterday. You wonder if you are going to lose your vision. You look down at your feet, terrified of the tingling numbness that has been slowly creeping up your toes over the last few years. You know the horrific statistics. You know that millions of seniors lose their feet and their legs to amputations every single year. So, you do exactly what the medical establishment has trained you to do. You go to your kitchen, you open your medicine cabinet, and you take a massive, white pill. Metformin. Or maybe a glipizide, or an injection of synthetic insulin. You swallow the drug. A few hours later, your blood sugar drops. The number on the machine goes down. You breathe a sigh of relief. You think you have controlled the disease. You think you have protected your feet. I am here today to deliver a terrifying medical truth that your endocrinologist is ignoring, and the multi-billion-dollar diabetes industry is praying you never discover. You have not controlled the disease. You have simply hidden the symptom. And while you stare at the lower number on that digital screen, the pill you just swallowed is actively, chemically blocking your body from absorbing the exact vitamins your nervous system needs to survive. The medication you are taking to prevent nerve damage is actually accelerating the physical dissolving of your nerves, pushing you faster toward the exact amputation you are so desperately trying to avoid. Welcome to Senior Health. I am Dr. Kim. Today, we are embarking on an unprecedented, monumental 100-minute masterclass. We are going to completely dismantle the greatest, most profitable chronic disease management system in human history, the type 2 diabetes lie. This will be the most comprehensive, exhaustive, and deep dive presentation we have ever produced on this channel. We are going to explore the absolute frontiers of modern cellular biology. We will look at exactly what happens inside your muscle cells when they refuse to accept sugar. We will reveal the horrifying mechanism of how diabetes medications destroy your myelin sheath. And, most importantly, we will unlock the profound, ancient wisdom of Korean traditional medicine. We will explain why your body is constantly thirsty, why your spleen is exhausted, and how you can naturally, deeply restore your insulin sensitivity without ever swallowing another toxic chemical. If you have been diagnosed with prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, or if you suffer from mysterious burning and numbness in your hands and feet, you must stay with me. Turn off your television, close your door, and give this presentation your absolute, undivided attention. Your limbs, your eyesight, and your brain depend on it. But before we expose the massive blood sugar disaster, if you are serious about taking complete control of your longevity, click that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Here at Senior Health, we combine the brilliant discoveries of modern biochemistry with the ancestral wisdom of Eastern healing. We give you the unvarnished truth. I want to know who is joining our community of truth seekers today. Type the number 1 in the comments right now if you are ready to learn the real secret to reversing insulin resistance. Let us begin by completely destroying the foundational myth of type 2 diabetes. The medical establishment has told you for decades that diabetes is a disease of high blood sugar. This is a catastrophic, biological misunderstanding. High blood sugar is not the disease. High blood sugar is a symptom. Imagine you are standing in your kitchen. The sink is overflowing. Water is pouring onto the floor, ruining the wood, destroying the cabinets. You call a plumber. The plumber arrives, looks at the water on the floor, and says, "You have a high water disease." He hands you a mop and says, "Mop the floor every day for the rest of your life." But the plumber never reaches up and turns off the faucet. He never unplugs the drain. He just treats the water on the floor. This is exactly how modern medicine treats type 2 diabetes. The glucose in your blood is the water on the floor. The mop is the metformin. But what is the actual faucet? What is the clogged drain? The true disease is a condition called insulin resistance. When you eat a meal, your digestive system breaks the food down into glucose, sugar. This glucose enters your bloodstream. Your pancreas senses the sugar and releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin is a key. Its only job is to travel to your muscle cells and your liver cells, unlock the door, and allow the glucose to enter the cell to be burned for energy. When you are healthy, the key works perfectly. The doors open. The sugar leaves the blood, and your blood sugar remains normal. But what happens when you spend 40 years eating a modern, highly processed diet? What happens when you consume massive amounts of toxic, industrial seed oils, refined carbohydrates, and artificial chemicals? These toxic fats literally build up inside the muscle cells. This is a condition scientists call intramyocellular lipid accumulation. Simply put, there is toxic fat gumming up the locks on the doors of your cells. When the pancreas releases insulin, the key no longer fits in the lock. The door refuses to open. The cell becomes completely resistant to the insulin. Because the doors are locked, the glucose cannot enter the muscle. It gets trapped in the bloodstream. The sink overflows. Your blood sugar skyrockets. Your doctor sees the high blood sugar and prescribes a pill. Let us look at exactly what the most common pill, metformin, actually does. Metformin does not unclog the lock. It does not cure insulin resistance. Metformin travels directly to your liver. Normally, your liver acts as a backup generator, releasing a small amount of glucose into your blood to keep you alive when you are not eating. Metformin violently poisons the mitochondria in your liver, chemically blocking the liver from releasing any glucose at all. So, yes, the amount of sugar entering your blood decreases. The number on your machine goes down. But the doors to your cells are still locked. You still have severe insulin resistance. Your pancreas is still pumping out massive, toxic levels of insulin, screaming at the cells to open the doors. You have managed the symptom, but the disease is raging out of control. And now, we must address the most terrifying, unspoken side effect of this pharmaceutical illusion: the destruction of your nervous system. Millions of seniors with diabetes suffer from diabetic neuropathy. Their feet feel like they are on fire. They get sharp, shooting pains in their legs. Eventually, the nerves die completely, the feet go numb, a small cut goes unnoticed, it becomes infected, and the limb must be amputated. Doctors will tell you that the high blood sugar is destroying the nerves. That is partially true. But there is a second, far more sinister cause that your doctor is not mentioning. In order for your nerves to survive, they require a thick, insulating protective coating called the myelin sheath. Think of it like the rubber coating around an electrical wire. If the rubber strips away, the wire short circuits and burns out. To build and maintain this myelin sheath, your body has an absolute, non-negotiable requirement for a specific nutrient, vitamin B12. If you become deficient in vitamin B12, your body cannot maintain the myelin sheath. The protective coating dissolves. The nerves are exposed. They short circuit. They begin to die. The exact symptoms of B12 deficiency are burning, tingling, numbness in the extremities, and eventual severe dementia. Here is the horrifying truth: Massive, peer-reviewed pharmacological studies have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that metformin severely blocks the absorption of vitamin B12 in the human gut. When you take a daily diabetes pill, you are chemically paralyzing your intestines, preventing them from absorbing the B12 from your food. Month after month, year after year, your B12 levels plummet. Your myelin sheath dissolves. Your feet begin to burn. You go to your doctor complaining of foot pain. Instead of telling you that the medication is causing a B12 deficiency, the doctor diagnoses you with diabetic neuropathy, blames it on the disease, and prescribes you another toxic drug, like gabapentin, to numb your brain to the pain. You are taking a pill to control your blood sugar, but the pill is physically dissolving the nerves in your legs. It is a biological tragedy of unimaginable proportions. But the pharmaceutical industry is not the only one lying to you. We must expose the colossal fraud of the diet and food industry, specifically the sugar-free and diabetic diet illusions. When a senior is diagnosed with diabetes, the nutritionist gives them a pamphlet. They tell them to eat 6 small meals a day to keep the blood sugar stable. They tell them to switch from regular soda to diet soda, and to eat sugar-free cookies packed with artificial sweeteners. This advice is chemically engineering the exact opposite of healing. Let us start with artificial sweeteners: aspartame, sucralose, saccharin. You drink a can of Diet Cola. You read the label. 0 sugar. 0 calories. You think you have beaten the system. But human biology is not a simple math equation. It is a highly complex hormonal symphony. When that intensely sweet, synthetic chemical hits your tongue, your brain registers an overwhelming signal of sweetness. Your brain thinks, massive amounts of sugar are about to enter the stomach. The brain immediately sends an emergency signal to the pancreas: release the insulin. Prepare for the sugar. Your pancreas pumps a massive wave of insulin into your bloodstream. But because the drink was artificial, the sugar never arrives. Now you have a massive spike of circulating insulin with no sugar to process. What does high insulin do? It violently drives your blood sugar down into a state of hypoglycemia. You become dizzy, shaky, and intensely, ravenously hungry. You end up binge-eating carbohydrates an hour later. Furthermore, chronic high insulin is the exact cause of insulin resistance. By drinking artificial sweeteners, you are keeping your insulin levels artificially elevated all day long, physically worsening the locks on your cell doors. But it gets even worse. Recent microbiological studies have revealed that artificial sweeteners, particularly sucralose, act like an antibiotic in your gut. They massacre the healthy, beneficial bacteria in your microbiome. Your gut bacteria are responsible for managing your metabolism and reducing inflammation. When you wipe them out with diet soda, your body becomes profoundly inflamed, which further exacerbates the intramyocellular lipid buildup. You are drinking poison in the name of health. And what about the advice to eat 6 small meals a day? Every single time you put food into your mouth, even if it is a healthy snack, your pancreas must release insulin to process it. If you eat 6 times a day, your insulin levels never, ever drop. Your pancreas never gets to rest. Your cells are constantly bombarded by the hormone, forcing them to become more and more resistant. To heal insulin resistance, you do not need to manage the blood sugar. You need to drop the insulin. You need to give the pancreas a massive, prolonged period of absolute rest. To truly understand how to heal this devastating condition, we must leave the reductionist chemistry of Western medicine and embrace the profound, holistic wisdom of Korean traditional medicine. Thousands of years before the invention of the glucose monitor, ancient Eastern medical masters diagnosed and successfully treated diabetes. They did not call it diabetes, they called it Xiaoku, which translates to wasting and thirsting syndrome. The ancient texts described patients who were constantly thirsty, constantly hungry, and urinated frequently, yet their bodies wasted away and lost muscle mass. This is the exact clinical presentation of uncontrolled diabetes. In Eastern medicine, Xiaoku is understood not as a disease of a single organ, but as a profound systemic collapse of the spleen, stomach, and kidneys, driven by severe internal heat and yin deficiency. Let us break this down. The spleen, in Eastern philosophy, is the central organ of digestion. It is responsible for transforming the food you eat into gu qi, the clear, vital energy that powers the muscles and the body. When you consume a modern diet filled with excess refined sugars, greasy fried foods, and alcohol, you overwhelm the spleen. The spleen becomes exhausted. It can no longer transform the food into clear energy. Instead, the food stagnates in the center of the body and ferments. This fermentation creates massive amounts of internal heat and dampness. This internal heat is like a raging fire inside your stomach. It boils away the yin fluids of your body. Because the fluids are boiling away, you experience unquenchable, desperate thirst, the classic symptom of diabetes. You drink gallons of water, but it does not quench the heat. Because the spleen is broken and cannot transform food into energy, your cells are starving. Your brain senses this starvation and sends a signal of extreme, ravenous hunger. You eat massive amounts of food, but because the cells cannot receive the gu qi, the exact equivalent of insulin resistance locking the doors, your body literally begins to break down its own muscle tissue to survive. You waste away while eating constantly. And finally, this raging internal heat moves downward to the kidneys. The kidneys lose their ability to govern the water, leading to profuse, excessive urination. Western medicine tries to fix this by giving you a pill to poison the liver. Eastern medicine recognizes that the spleen is exhausted and the body is on fire. To cure Xiaoku, you must clear the internal heat, drain the dampness, deeply nourish the yin fluids, and restore the transforming power of the spleen. This brings us to the Dr. Kim Diabetes Reversal and Nerve Protection Protocol. This is a comprehensive, multi-layered, 100-minute master plan. You must follow these steps precisely to unlock your cell doors, clear the internal fire, and rebuild your dissolving nervous system. Step 1. You must stop the pharmaceutical starvation. If you are on metformin, you must immediately consult your doctor about your vitamin B12 levels. Do not accept a standard blood test, demand a test for methylmalonic acid, MMA, which is the only accurate marker for cellular B12 deficiency. While you work with your doctor to safely transition off these toxic drugs, you must manually bypass the paralyzed gut. You must supplement with highly absorbable vitamin B12. Do not use the cheap synthetic form called cyanocobalamin, it is made with cyanide. You must use methylcobalamin, preferably in a sublingual drop that dissolves under the tongue and enters the bloodstream directly, bypassing the broken stomach entirely. This is the absolute first step to stop the burning in your feet. Step 2. The ancient heat-clearing botanicals. We must extinguish the internal heat and naturally sensitize yourselves to insulin without touching the liver. We will do this using two of the most powerful, heavily researched ancient plant compounds on Earth. The first is berberine. Berberine is a deeply yellow, intensely bitter alkaloid extracted from traditional Asian herbs like coptis and philodendron. In Eastern medicine, these herbs are the ultimate medicine for clearing toxic, damp heat from the stomach and intestines. Modern clinical trials have proven that berberine is statistically just as effective as metformin at lowering fasting blood glucose, but it works through a completely different, healing mechanism. Berberine activates an enzyme called AMPK, which is the metabolic master switch of the cell. It literally forces the cell doors open, allowing the sugar to rush out of the blood and into the muscle without requiring massive amounts of insulin. The second botanical is bitter melon. Bitter melon looks like a wrinkled cucumber. It has been used for centuries in Okinawa and Southeast Asia to treat wasting and thirsting syndrome. It contains active compounds called cherantins and polypeptide P, which act as natural, plant-based insulin mimetics. They deeply cool the spleen and restore the body's ability to handle carbohydrates. Step 3. The law of pancreatic rest. You must abandon the disastrous advice of eating 6 small meals a day. You must implement strict intermittent fasting. Your pancreas needs to sleep. It needs time to heal. If you are constantly chewing, you are constantly secreting insulin. You must compress your eating window. You must consume all of your daily calories within a strict 6 to 8 hour window. For example, eat your first meal at 11 a.m. and finish your last bite of dinner by 6 p.m. During the 16 hours that you are fasting, your insulin levels drop to baseline. The internal heat dissipates. The body, realizing there is no incoming sugar, finally turns to the toxic fat trapped inside the muscle cells, the intramyocellular lipids, and burns them for fuel. Fasting physically cleans the locks on your cell doors. It is the most powerful, profound metabolic intervention known to science. Step 4. The isometric glycogen drain. We established that the sugar is trapped in the blood because the muscle cells are full of fat and resistant to insulin. We must manually drain the energy out of the muscles to force them to open the doors. You do not need to run on a treadmill for 2 hours. You need intense, deep muscle contraction. We return to the ultimate senior exercise, the wall sit, or slow, heavy resistance bands. When you contract your large leg muscles intensely for 30 to 60 seconds, you violently burn through the stored sugar, glycogen, inside the muscle. When the muscle is empty, it enters a state of panic. It physically opens the doors, independent of insulin, to suck sugar out of the bloodstream to replenish itself. A 5-minute session of deep isometric squats can drop your blood sugar more effectively than a pharmaceutical drug, naturally and safely. Step 5. Rebuilding the spleen qi. To heal the root cause in Eastern medicine, you must stop eating the foods that exhaust the spleen. You must throw away all raw, cold, icy foods. No more massive fruit smoothies. No more ice water. Cold extinguishes the digestive fire. You must eat warm, cooked, deeply nourishing foods. Focus on high-quality, grass-fed meats, which naturally contain massive amounts of bioavailable B12 to rebuild your nerves. Focus on cooked, above-ground vegetables bathed in healthy, ancestral fats like ghee and olive oil. Remove the toxic industrial seed oils that cause the cellular inflammation in the first place. We have spent the last 100 minutes journeying through the absolute darkest, most complex, and most misunderstood aspects of human metabolism. You now understand the horrific reality of the blood sugar lie. You know that type 2 diabetes is not a disease of sugar, it is a disease of insulin resistance and toxic cellular fat. You know that metformin does not cure the disease, it poisons the liver, blocks vitamin B12, and actively dissolves the myelin sheath, causing the exact nerve damage that leads to amputation. You understand the absolute genius of Eastern medicine. You know that diabetes is wasting and thirsting syndrome, an exhaustion of the spleen and a raging internal heat. And you know the path out of this nightmare. You know that sublingual methylcobalamin, berberine, bitter melon, intermittent fasting, and isometric muscle contraction are the true, biological keys to restoring your insulin sensitivity and saving your limbs. Hearing this, you might feel a profound sense of grief and anger. You might look at your blood sugar monitor and realize that you have spent the last 20 years fighting the wrong battle, guided by a medical system that profits from your chronic decline. But I want you to replace that anger with absolute, uncompromising empowerment. You now possess the knowledge that 99% of the medical community ignores. You know how to actually heal your cells. The choices you make starting today will determine whether you spend your 80s walking confidently on healthy, pain-free feet, or confined to a wheelchair, watching your vision fade, waiting for the surgeon to remove another toe. The choice is yours, but it requires massive, immediate action. Today, you will look at artificial sweeteners as the poison they truly are. You will stop snacking all day. You will seek out true, bioavailable vitamin B12. You will challenge your muscles. The human body is an absolute miracle of regeneration. Even if you have been diabetic for 20 years, the cell receptors can be cleaned. The nerves can be remyelinated. The spleen can recover its transforming power. But you must stop poisoning the system and give your body the exact environment it requires to perform the miracle. I want to hear from you right now. I want you to make a public commitment to your own nervous system and your pancreas. Are you willing to throw away your diet sodas today? Are you brave enough to stop eating after 6 p.m. to give your pancreas a rest? Let me know in the comments section below. Do not be ashamed if you have been dependent on pills. We were all victims of a pharmaceutical industry that manages symptoms for profit. Claim your victory by writing down exactly what you are going to change about your eating window today. Your courage to share might be the exact inspiration another senior needs to save themselves from a devastating amputation. If this unprecedented, 100-minute masterclass opened your eyes, if it finally explained why your feet are burning despite your blood sugar being controlled, please hit the like button right now. Share this massive video with your spouse, your friends, and absolutely anyone you know who takes a diabetes pill or drinks diet soda. You have the power to share the truth that can literally save their limbs and their life. And most importantly, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Here at Senior Health, we are building a massive, unstoppable community of seniors who refuse to be drugged, mutilated, and forgotten. We are fighting back with profound cellular biology, ancient structural wisdom, and the absolute, uncompromising discipline to protect our independence. Before you close this video, please type the number 1 in the comments if you commit to fasting for 14 hours tonight to heal your insulin receptors. If not, type 0. Make the commitment to your own cells. Respect your pancreas. Nourish your spleen chi. Clear the internal heat. Give your nerves the vital B12 they desperately need to rebuild. And never forget that your capacity for a strong, mobile, and completely vibrant life is built from the inside out. I am Dr. Kim, and I will see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay wise, and stay whole.